Hi, I'm Ted. Welcome to the Skoolie video. Today we're going to talk about the 5 tools that are not critical but totally worth it. Holiday season coming up, and thinking that people may want to add some tools to their wish list, either for them or for their Skoolie partner. And so these are ones that I did the video a couple weeks ago, the ones I thought were absolutely critical, and that may have been obvious. People kind of know that. But this job, I know when I was starting, and you kind of look at tools, and I'm always kind of like, where can I cut financial corners, or how can I make this more manageable? And I thought, geez, do I really need that tool or not? And so this video, I think, is one that to really, like, are you on the fence about some of these tools? And these are the ones that I really liked. Right. So the first one I will say is this air chisel. You know, in fact, I just watched a video this week of someone taking all the rivets out of the ceiling, and they've got the hammer and their chisel, and they're up over their head, you know, dang, 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 dang. And I must have pulled 1,000 rivets out of the bus, and 52 years old, and had rotator cuff surgery, and I just can't imagine doing this for, you know, several thousand times over the course of how long that's got to take days. This was, I think, 25 bucks, and it was, again, it's just a kind of central pneumatic, you know, pretty entry-level air chisel. And I sharpened and it comes with 4 bits and has like a punch bit, so I sharpened that to get into the center of the rivet and knocked out all the centers. And then I took the forked bit, sharpened that up with a grinder as well, and just kind of mowed through most of those rivets. And I just can't imagine. I think I did most of all that in a morning. I just can't imagine taking days with that. So this is my first tool that is totally worth it. The second one, a little bit more expensive. I think this is like close to $45, but this is some electric shears. And I remember when I built this house too. A buddy of mine saying, "Oh, you can get those electric shears to cut through the metal roofing." And I thought, well, I got my skill saw, and I'll do it with that rather than spend the money on the tool. And I did, but you know, cutting metal with a skill saw, even with ear protection, is just awful. Like, it's really loud, and it's just, I don't know, it's not a pleasant experience. I can run my table saw all day, and I love the smell of the sawdust, but cutting with a grinder, and again, you got sparks flying everywhere. It's hard to get straight lines. And this I got, it's because it cuts 14 gauge steel, and so I used it to cut all the window skins that I used, basically the ceiling material I just took out. I used it to skin the windows, and I built cut the pieces that went over the light flashers and the destination signs. And it's come up a couple other projects too that I thought, geez, it's just so smooth. You know, I still have hearing protection on, but you know, it's easy to cut straight lines, and it's nice and smooth. And just, again, another tool for me, totally worth it. All right, next tool that I found myself using more than I actually thought I would is a belt sander. Fairly recent, I guess, in my carpentry work. I've always either gotten away with it or borrowed one if I needed it, but I just found that doing so many projects where I needed to remove a large quantity of wood in a short amount of time, and this sort of was a deal to it. So you may have seen the video where I did the countertop, and I needed to sort of get in there where I cut out the undermount sink and smooth that off. So I had to use the belt sander for that. I used it with actually the countertop itself. You know, as a butcher block and glued up. You know, I don't know, 20-something pieces of wood, so you get all those uneven surfaces, and it was too wide to go through my planer, and try to use my orbital sander, which I love, would have taken forever. And that belt sander just takes it off so much faster. I used it on the countertop. I used it on the dashboard. You saw the video that I built that. Seems like I just used it recently again for something. Oh, the door. Building the door, you know, sort of the mortise and tenons, and as careful as you get, there's always that little lip to it. And especially since I was doing a lot of the project with oak, you know, it just would have taken forever. And so that just saved me hours and hours of time, kind of like the air chisel. And, you know, I think about, you know, it's like 30 bucks, maybe it wasn't that much money. And if you calculate your time of cost, you know, it just pays for itself in the labor. Not that I'm paying myself, but you know what I mean. I could be doing a whole lot of opportunity cost type deal. So real happy with the belt sander. So So a little backstory about myself. As I said, I tend to be pretty thrifty. I don't know if it's my northern upbringing or what. But I'm really good about not trying things that I know I'm going to like. People go, you want to try this $300 paddle? No, I don't want to try that. This $1,800 guitar? No, I don't even want to smell it. Get away from me, because I know I'll want it, and then I'm going to want it bad. And I was at my cousin's house helping with this. We were putting up this outdoor patio and working away, and we had to trim off some of the vinyl trim around kind of one of the framing pieces. And a friend of his was there helping out. Here, just take this. And he hands me this little MultiTool. And I'm like, oh, okay. And zip, piece came right out. I'm like, oh, God, I need one of these. And again, I haven't really had them. I've seen them around. I'm like, I don't really need one. But then I tried that. I'm like, I need one. And so for any of you guys that are going to do the reflective tape and take any of the decals off the bus, this is the ticket. I've seen people do videos with it. And then I did most of mine with a combination of blowtorch and heat gun, and I tried the eraser wheel. The eraser wheel didn't really work that well for me. It seems like I blew through an entire one. It was okay in the decals, but that reflective thing is pretty tough, and it just didn't seem to work really well. But I've seen videos of this, and then before I did the paint job, I had a couple scraps on the backside, and I also get the weather stripping when I did the door off, and this thing just zips it right down, takes it right off, right down to sort of the little bit of glue at the back, which I used as some Goo Gone and some acetone or I guess paint thinner. I had to work, took it right off. So this will take much, I don't know, I can't even put a number on it, but significantly faster than anything else I've done. But I also find it super convenient for those weird, awkward cuts. If you saw the video where we put in the baby locks on the drawers to keep it from moving. The way I build my drawers, I build sort of the box first, and then I build the front to it. Like, I think I've got one kicking around right here. Oh, here it is. So I just build my regular old drawers just out of plywood, and then I put another face on the front in the make pretty phase. But the baby locks needed to go way in here, like kind of on this spot. And so I had to figure out how to notch this out, which would have been impossible kind of thing with any other saw. And I didn't want to take the face fronts because I'd already aligned them. And so I just took this little multi-tool and zip, 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 cut them out a notch. And I was like, that's awesome. I didn't have to take them apart. And just the other day I was working on my next project, trying to frame out around the heater. And I couldn't really build it and then slide it in. And so I was trying to build it in place, but then there's another part I need to access, or I need to trim off a bottom, which again would have been impossible with any other saw. And I just kind of reached in with this and zip, 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 and cut it right out. And I was like, all right. So this has already been super helpful. You know, this is closer to $100, so it's a little bit more expensive, but I can see myself using this on multiple projects coming up down the road. And so I'm really happy that I have it. Totally worth it. And then kind of finally, I guess, is my my air nailers. And I hardly ever use, well, I never use the frame nailer on the bus just because, well, the frame's sort of screwed in. But I found myself using these air nailers quite a bit. The sealing would have been absolutely impossible without a finish nailer. Just trying to, I just don't know how you else would attach it. You get all the, you want to try to keep the nail hole small, and if you're doing tongue and groove, you want to nail through the tongues. And I got a kit that has both a finish nailer, 2-inch finish nailer, and a little brad nailer. And I use this a lot for like, I didn't use it a ton in this project, but I do find myself using this a lot in the shop, just to hit little, especially if I'm doing cabinet doors, as I glue them together, and then kind of put a little nail in the backside or a little brad through the tongue on the backside, and that just sort of holds it together while the glue dries. It makes it go a lot faster. So I use that, and then it comes with a stapler, which I haven't used a ton on the bus, but I use it for other projects. So, and it wasn't that much money, but I can't find this anymore. It's just a Husky. It's fairly cheap, but I'll put a link to something similar down there you can find if you want. They're pretty good. I found my finish nailer, the 2-inch nailer jams sometimes, depending on what kind of nails. Like, for some reason, it doesn't like galvanized nails. But the other tools work fantastic. I've never had any problem with them at all. And a bonus tool, which I kind of already covered in last week's, but I thought I would just sort of hit on it anyway. You get cordless drills, and I've had this one for ever. You probably have to carbon date this now. It's got to be 15 years old. And of course, again, I'm going to try to get as much out of tools as I can. But the battery would just like last for like 4.5 minutes, and then the chuck was kind of stripped out in here, so bits started stripping. So I was at the store getting materials, and there was a sale on this too. I was like, you know what? It's time that I actually bought a new cordless drill. And this DeWalt is I couldn't believe how much power it has. You may have seen the video. I forgot to charge my impact driver battery, so I took this and drove a 3.5 inch finish nail through 3.5 inches of oak, and then into the oak dashboard. So super powerful. My daughter was just respackling sort of the walls in her room. I'm like, I wonder how powerful this is. So I have a 5-gallon bucket of spackle. It was about half full, so it's not a full 5 gallons. But put my paint mixer in, just cranked it right up. And that's usually a 1/2 inch, quarter drilled process for me. That thing couldn't do it. So bonus, if you're thinking about just getting your cordless drill, I am super happy with this DeWalt, the 20 volt. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. And again, I knew that would have been really helpful for me, because I'm always like, do I really need that? And would it be totally worth it? I'm always kind of looking for the value, just to kind of stretch that dollar as much as I can. And I would say if I was going to do this project all over again, I would spend the money on those tools. That they just made life easier. They made the product better. They saved what little hair I have left, and I'm just they're my friends. I'm very happy to have them. So. Again, hope it's helpful. Thanks for joining me again. Like, subscribe, do all those things that you do. I'll see you down the road. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.